Today we're going to talk about who gets access, who wants access, who should get access to their stuff, or should somebody manage that for you? This is mostly related to the client, agency, or maybe freelancer, could be anything, web developer, webmaster, whatever you want to call them, relationship, who manages what. So this stems from, I just finished a project yesterday where we moved a website to a new server. And I was helping them recover it. There was a lot of issues. And so we got it handled, and I got it working. I tested it out. It looks pretty good, right? But there was a couple things I needed to mention. One of those was they were using Elementor, and now they're on a new domain. It was actually a new domain as well. And so they need to reconnect their Elementor account, which is no big deal. Shouldn't be a big deal. But my partner, when I told him that, he actually asked me a question. Because he said something to the effect he doesn't like premium. When people have premium plugins, he doesn't like dealing with that. That's why he likes working with us, because we tend to build things in a custom way. We do a lot of, for him particularly, we build full site editing block themes for WordPress. So it's very stripped down, very lightweight, and there's like no premium plugins. You just use WordPress out of the box, like we should, I think. But no, that's what we do for him. So we never have to worry about these things. But we inherited this site. He was helping somebody. I don't know if they became a client or they were referred or whatever. And I just said to him, I said, well, unfortunately, like in case of Elementor, it's such a popular solution. Like even myself, I couldn't avoid it. Like if I was going to be a WordPress shop, there's no way I'm avoiding Elementor. It's everywhere. It's not maybe what we lead with if we're going to build something from scratch. Although we can build Elementor sites if somebody really loves that solution. And we can translate designs to it and everything. But for the most part, we stay away from that. But we can't avoid other people like inheriting sites. We're doing maintenance. We maintain sites that are Elementor. We do work on a lot of Elementor sites, and so we can't avoid it. And so we've become really good at managing it. So I told him, we can help with it though. But from that, he then asked, in his words, I got it up over here, how do you handle these costs with your clients? Especially those that don't subscribe to your maintenance plan, lower tiers, COGS. What is it? What do you do? And my response, so he's basically asking, do we cover that? Do we include that in our plans? Do we, manage the license and whatever for these services? And my reply was, in most cases, we don't. So in my case, with the dozens of sites, clients, partners, other agencies we work with and stuff, there's not a single scenario where I am managing somebody's account for a service, even web hosting. That's my model. That is my model. It is what it is. That's what I established. I never thought about that. I used to sell hosting back in the day. We're talking 15 years ago. I'm not interested in selling that type of service or managing other people's web hosting or anything, any tools they have, whether it's that or, there's a myriad of premium tools out there, even WooCommerce plugins and stuff. So my whole thing is there are a couple such scenarios, if I can talk. There's a couple scenarios where we have an agency license, so sometimes I'll let somebody just use that. But it's far in between. And the reason I don't do that is I have a very good reason. It's not just I don't want to manage that. But it's what I've seen play out. We help a lot of people, like in the case of this website here for my partner, we help recover a lot of stuff. And in fact, this one actually was a really good example. This was a scenario. It was a complete mess. They actually were on GoDaddy. So they had their domains on GoDaddy. They had bought a hosting plan there and it was sitting there. But anyway, they had a webmaster. They call it webmaster still. They had a webmaster helping them, and they webmaster went MIA and wouldn't help them anymore for whatever reason, and so they came to Matt. Said, Matt, he even said the other day, you can be the hero here, Matt. help them, because they're out of business right now, and it's an established business. Financial is in their .com. So they're an established business and their whole website's like down. And it was actually doing this weird redirect and all this stuff. Anyway, so there's a case where the client didn't actually have access to probably the old hosting and stuff, and they were trying to transfer it over, and then it just wasn't working. They lost the site for a minute, and then I was able to find a copy of it. I backed it up real quick, restored some things. I had to fix something with the menu, just a couple tweaks, and then anyway, it's back. But there's a scenario where somebody didn't have access to something, and it kind of had this ripple effect where all of a sudden they're out of business for a few days. There's scenarios where I've seen scenarios where people have lost control of their web hosting or never had it, and the person that and again, not just starting businesses, like these are established businesses where this has happened multiple times. Where somebody, maybe an ex-employee or ex-person helping, whatever, it could have been a developer, agency, whatever, owned the account, and they couldn't get access to the account, even going to the web host, because the web host is very secure, and they are going to require the owner of that account, not the business, not the domain, the owner of that account to access, and if not, there's this whole process of transferring it. But you have to work with the person that has the account. And if they're gone, you're out of luck. So that can be a nightmare scenario. Domains, hosting, but then also just run-of-the-mill stuff like Elementor or other services out there. Now those are a little easier to recover, but it's a lot simpler if you just have control of it, and know where stuff is, know where your logins are. It might be a service that you want. Maybe there's analytics in there, depending on what it is, and history. And so all of that stuff. And so my point here is that because of that, I don't want to be that for somebody else. I plan on being somebody's web developer, designer, agency forever. I'm going to try really hard for that to happen. But I also care about my clients today. If someday, and this is not going to be so rare, but if there's something would happen, maybe the client decides to go with somebody else, or who knows what happens, right? There's all these scenarios. I don't want to now that client to be SOL and not be able to, get their web hosting, under control or whatever. I don't want to be that. Or something happens to me. What if something happens to me? What if, I don't know. Who knows? Well, something could happen to me that I end up in the hospital and they need access to something. I don't want that to, So the way we handle it is super simple. We just have, even an agency partner or a direct client, agency partners clients, I've so many times I've helped them get access to something. So even on web hosting, I recommend a web host. And then I have them go purchase it. If they need help, maybe it's depending on the plan or whatever. If they need help making some decisions along those ways, I help them, either walking through it on a call or just through text or whatever. And then once they have it, then I walk them through how to add me as a user. And depending on what the interface is, that might be, you can give different permissions to me. Give me all the permissions. It doesn't matter. But I want you, the client, to be in there. So, and you to have that record. So that's how I manage that. So it's basically, I let my clients go get the service. They give me access. Maybe that's just their login, and I deal with it. But they own it. It's their credit card is in there. It's their, they handle it. And what I told my friend is no one ever complains about that. People are okay with that. And I think, the way I communicated, I think it gives some peace of mind. Like, okay, great. I don't have to worry about that problem down the road if something would happen. Even though we might have the best relationship today, you never know how things change. Or, like I said, if I disappear or something happens, hopefully not. But hopefully somebody will still be here in my agency handling things. But yeah, so, and I also said, there is a case for that model. Somebody can decide, okay, we're just going to manage everything. Great. But for me, this makes a lot more sense. Even on the monthly contracts and stuff. Even on the contracts I have that are monthly and sizable, I don't include it. So, and I also, one of the things I have communicated to my clients as well, especially my direct clients, is that if we were to separate for some reason, or they can't, it could be a budget thing. They can't, afford us. Something happens, business goes down. Businesses can go up and down. If something changes in that regard, I'm going to have all the access for them and be able to just send it to them. And then they can go, and I've done that. I remember one in particular where, again, it might have been a budget thing. It might have been, I think they went with, somebody new started working there and they wanted to go with their guy or something. I sent them a PDF with all their logins. Here you go. And bye-bye. But, it was simple. So I care. It's important as an agency that you care about the people you're taking care of and don't get selfish about it. Like I'm sure there's going to be a percentage that want to do that because they want that control and they don't want their people to leave. They want people to depend on them so much that they're afraid to do anything. I don't want that kind of relationship. I want a mutual respect, mutual, we're working together kind of relationship where we're not worried about, tricking people into wanting to do business with us. We're gonna retain that business because we take care of people and they like us. One of the last things I'll leave it at here is, so he came, actually, when I gave this advice, first he said, "Thank you, Matt. This gives me complete clarity on how we should be managing our web design clients." And one of the things he landed on here is his last thoughts. Hope he doesn't mind me sharing these. You don't know who he is. I don't want them to not have access if I decide to retire and spend the rest of my days in some secluded island somewhere. But, he said that, but I want to reply to that. That is actually another good reason. 10 years from now, 15 years from now, I could just imagine, right? If we paid for everything, there would be dozens and dozens of licenses and all this stuff that we're managing. Imagine 10, 15 years ago, 15 years from now, somebody offers me some money to take over my agency, or we phase it out and or give it to somebody else. Or maybe I close the doors. Maybe that's what I decide to do 15 years from now. Now what? I have to figure out how to transfer all of these dozens, probably hundreds of accounts at that time. How am I going to transfer every single one of those web hosting accounts and plugins and this and that and the other thing to every single different client? Oh my goodness. It would be so much better to just, cancel some or transfer some maintenance contracts, and here you go. And don't worry, the clients handle all their own stuff. Here's all the logins, access they gave us, and that's it. Or you just, hand that over to the clients and you're done. So I think there's this long game thing too, where there's a lot, what we call that kind of debt that you would gather over time, all the stuff you're managing and having to work. And also, especially if you decide you're paying for all those things, you have more stuff coming out of your accounts. I could imagine I have enough stuff coming out of my checking accounts, paying for things, my expenses every month. I don't need to be paying for other people's stuff there either. So now, I always say these things though, because there's always going to be an edge case. If some $1 million, account or contract comes along and they say, you know what, Matt, we need you to be paying for everything. We'll talk about it. I might say yes. There's always an edge case. But for the most part, though, this is what I do. Hopefully you found this interesting, insightful, me sharing stuff from the trenches. Until next time, take care of yourself. Bye-bye.